Hey guys, welcome to the Diet Doc Life Mastery Podcast. We're already having fun, obviously, before we even roll the cameras. Not an inside joke. We're just, all these technical things, getting a podcast ready happens sometimes. But Kori, last episode, even though this has nothing to do with the actual episode, I mentioned the difference between positive and negativity in terms of things that pull us forward. If we're trying to succeed at something, the negative reinforcement is actually more paralyzing to people. That creates inaction, whereas positive things, moving towards something and looking forward, is what creates action. And you had talked about a client that you recently discussed moving into maintenance. So I'd love to hear how you integrated that concept.
Yeah, let me just add something real fast. Sometimes, Joe, negative reinforcement can be incredibly powerful. Like, I want to run as freaking fast away from that as I can. I never want to go back there. That is not a part of me that I ever want to be or see again. And that's powerful momentum to go forward. But generally speaking, yes, you're right. So I have this client who has moved into the maintenance phase of her journey, her process. And she legitimately, like most of us, when we've met a big goal and we've made some pretty significant changes in our lives, have concerns. She has some concerns about what she does not want to do. So she has this big long list. She doesn't want to go back to old behaviors. She doesn't want to not have support. She doesn't want to not commit to weighing and measuring. She doesn't want to make choices that aren't in her best interest. She doesn't want to be swayed or influenced by other people who don't know what's truly important to her in terms of her food choices and her health goals. And so I said, that's awesome. Like, you have a very good sense of what you don't want to do. So how does that translate into the things that you are going to do and that you do want to do? Because I have this other amazing client who he was part of this discussion because it's going on in my client support group. And he was like, I don't think you can't do a don't. And I love that phrase. I was like, that's pretty awesome. And you can't do a don't. It keeps you stuck. There is no forward momentum with a don't. I'm not going to do that, but then what am I going to do? What step do I take? So if she's committing to not doing all of those behaviors, I had to ask her, like, well, what are you committing to? What is your plan for accessing support? What and how will you weigh and measure? And then, what are you going to put into place when you are with other people so that, you make wise and skillful decisions? I almost said it myself, so that you don't engage in behaviors that you're not happy with. It's a practice. It really is. And, I encourage everyone who's listening to see how often you say those sorts of things and like what the impact is. Does it give you anything to move forward with? Or do you continue asking yourself questions because you're literally stuck in that? I don't want to do this anymore. Awesome. Yeah. I don't want that for you either. So what do you want? I had some friends who came to visit from Phoenix a couple weekends ago. And before their trip, they had messaged me and they were like, what's the best route to take to get to your house? And if I had said, well, don't take I-8, it wouldn't have been nearly as helpful as me saying what I did, which was, you should take I-8 and then you want to catch the 15 and come north. And all of us do. We need direction.
That is a great metaphor. It reminds me, I had a client also who was discussing, he saw me post a tremendous transformation of a client.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are kind of similar in demographic and so forth. And he said, what's the difference? Like, why is that guy succeeding in such amazing fashion and I'm struggling?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to bring up something very similar, which is, tied to the psychological need of autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a guy who just has accepted the process to move forward. Here's what I have to do. And there's no defiance. There's no animosity toward the change or the concept
anger,
or the sacrifice.
no
There's
victimhood.
there's a peaceful acceptance that I'm moving forward in a new direction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I'm trying to cling to and hold on to these other things that I feel like I'm sacrificing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think that ties in at least somewhat to, moving forward rather than staying stuck in a don't or a negative, this is what I'm leaving.
It really does. And, I think about, and this is something that we'll save for another podcast, but I think about identity, and this person who has experienced such profound change has chosen to adopt a new identity for himself without feeling sorry for himself about the identity that's being left behind, or like you said, sacrifice in his mind feels powerful for him as opposed to like victimizing.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I loved your analogy of just, telling somebody, don't do this. Well, he didn't tell me what to do. So there you go, guys. Dr. Kori Propst says you can't do a don't. But one of your clients said that. So
special thanks to my other client. I think he watches this. So thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching and listening. And we will catch you next time in the Life Mastery Podcast.
Thanks, guys.